next month.
Yes, you are. Where again?
Right.
France, yes.
We're sipping wine,
Yes.
hopefully not smelling too much garbage.
Not thinking about this place at all.
Pardon me?
Not thinking about this place at all.
No.
You're just gonna wait.
I think so.
Yeah.
I should have brought my phone and my numbers down.
I don't, I have them on Facebook, that's it.
We'd still move forward anyhow. So.
Yeah. Perfect, thank you.
It's just rather than $4 million for steps. What I'm saying? Oh, the
Yeah.
elevator.
Change.
Okay. I'm gonna carry people up and down the stairs for like $100 a day.
Yeah,
No.
well, it won't meet the. Or the new regulations.
Try to go down the chair. You might have.
Oh, no. Ontario Concrete,
Oh, no, Ontario.
but Avery was as a sub.
Mhm.
Small village.
Why?
And there was.
I think we could just call to order and
Yeah.
start it, and then hopefully Joe can lead it.
Sure. That's great. So I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 2:02 PM. And Michelle, do you want to read the land acknowledgement?
If I could just remind the members to turn the mics towards you so that when you're speaking, it can be heard on live stream. I acknowledge with respect that we're in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. And Madam Chair, if I could get a motion for the minutes of our last meeting, March 22nd.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Okay,
Second.
okay. And all in favor? Sorry.
Thank you. Madam Chair and committee members, I'd like to just make note that member Joe Greco, although he's not here at this point, has disclosed a pecuniary interest in item number 2 on your agenda. That would be application A623, an application from Joshua and Stacy Cleaves, civic number 768 Airport Road, and he cites that the applicants are clients of his law firm. So if Mr. Greco is able to attend, he will leave the gallery for the hearing of that application. Request for withdrawal. Madam Chair, I draw your attention to item 2 on your agenda. Sorry, it's not 2. It's item 3 on your agenda. Application A723, an application from Joseph Wright, 47 Berkshire Place. And I need to call to see if there's anyone in the gallery on that application, although I know there is nobody from that application, but just in case you folks are interested. The agent for the applicant has requested a deferral till May 17th. There's some issues that need to be clarified, and he'd rather have them clarified before the committee considers that application. So I'm looking for a motion to defer to May 17th.
Okay, do someone like to put forth a motion?
I'll make a motion to defer.
Okay.
Number 3.
Thank you, Wayne. And can I get a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Frank. And all in favor?
Thank you. Madam Chair, I will bring the committee's attention to item 5 on your agenda. And we'll take care of this application. It's application B823. It's an application from Greenview Estates Association. The subject property is 86 Greenview Lane. And Wesley Laverne, solicitor, is in the gallery if there's any questions. The subject property is located on the north side of Greenview Lane and runs through to Bennett Boulevard. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2 single detached residential. The applicant is seeking the committee's consent to sever the westerly portion of the subject property fronting on Bennett Boulevard into 2 parcels to be conveyed to the southerly abutting properties as lot addition. Parcel 1 to be approximately 27 meters by 48 meters and is to attach to 80 Greenview Lane, and parcel 2 to be approximately 6 meters by 50 meters and is to attach to 84 Greenview Lane. The intent of the application is to increase the land holdings of 80 Greenview Lane and 84 Greenview Lane. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. The owners of the westerly abutting property, being 72 Greenview Lane, submitted a letter of support. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building, planning, legal, PUC, Public Works, and Bell Canada right-of-way had no comments or objections. Fire services and PUC services did not respond. Engineering staff advised that there is a 1-foot reserve along Bennett Boulevard. No access to Bennett Boulevard is allowed. Considerations in making this decision: no objections to the request. Conditions to be applied but not limited to any approval are provision of a registered survey plan, payment of certificate fees, provision of applicable transfer documents, discharge or partial discharge of charge or mortgage, payment of municipal taxes in compliance with zoning bylaw provisions. And those are my submissions, Madam Chair. And again, Mr. Laverne is in the gallery if you have any questions.
Thank you. And Mr. Laverne, do you have any additional information you would like to provide the committee? Okay, thank you. And committee members, do you have any questions for Mr. Laverne or for Michelle?
Nope.
No. Okay, I'd like to close the discussion. And I'm going to ask for a motion.
I'll put forward a motion with the conditions noted.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor? Perfect. And motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Chair, if I could bring your attention then back to item 2 on your agenda. Well, we'll go to item 1. Or tab 1, rather. And tab 1 is application A523. It's an application from Fernando Manarino, who's the owner of civic number 180 Roosevelt Avenue. The property is located on the east side of Roosevelt Avenue between North Eden Street and Whitney Avenue. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2, single unit residential, and EM, environmental management. In accordance with section 45(1) or 2 of the Planning Act as applies, relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by including semi-detached dwelling as a permitted use subject to R3 building regulations. Specifically, section 9.6.1, permitted uses, semi-detached dwelling is not listed as a permitted use in an R2 zone, section 9.6.1. The applicant wishes to include semi-detached dwelling to the permitted uses listed subject to R3 building regulations. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city website. The property owner of the northerly abutting property, being 190 Roosevelt Avenue, submitted the following comments. I am sending this email in response to the application as noted above to amend the proposed property to include semi-detached dwelling. I am strongly opposed to this as it is no different than the original application to build two separate dwellings. The outcome is the same, an overly congested property. This area was designated single unit residential consisting of larger parcels of land, and properties all along this street are just that, single units with spacious yards. A semi-detached home does not fit in this aesthetic. This letter, and then I have another series of letters. This letter is to address the following application for a minor variance submitted by Fernando Marino, application A523. We oppose the application as the original plan was to separate the property to build a single-family home next to the existing one. Building a semi-detached home is, in our view, a major variance, not a minor variance. The neighborhood boasts a unique character with its wide open yards, similar style houses, and large aging trees. Building a semi-detached home on these properties not only opposes the character and charm of the area, but sets a disturbing precedent for future developments, which will collectively destroy the last of the large properties developed by our war veterans, which many of us are second, third, and fourth generation. Before making your decision, we, the people of Brookfield, would ask that you consider the reason. The undersigned live on these beautiful pieces of large land. We are also taxpayers, and most do not feel our neighborhood lots would be permanently destroyed and should not be permanently destroyed just for monetary gain. Consider that future housing developments cannot always be painted with the same brush for all purposes. The above letter was submitted by the owners of 171 Roosevelt Avenue, 181 Roosevelt Avenue, 185 Roosevelt Avenue, 194 Roosevelt Avenue, 176 Roosevelt Avenue, 163 Roosevelt Avenue, and 143 Roosevelt Avenue. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to internal departments and external agencies for their review. Planning, engineering, legal, PUC, and Sault Ste. Marie Region Conservation Authority had no concerns. Building staff did not respond. Planning staff finds that this use is desirable for the lot on which it is being proposed. There is ample frontage and setback to accommodate this proposal without causing disruption to the neighboring properties. The site offers a large frontage of approximately 62.14 meters that will provide for similar spacing between houses as is found in the neighborhood. The proposal offers a structure that fits in with the character of the surrounding neighborhood while providing additional housing. The proposal meets housing policies in the official plan as stated. Housing policy 1, opportunities for a full range of housing types shall be provided to meet the present and expected needs of the community. Innovative and alternative residential development standards supporting affordable housing and compact urban forms shall be encouraged. Additionally, this proposal is in line with the objectives of the provincial policy statement, section 1.4.3, which encourages various types of housing shall be considered for intensification where the infrastructure allows for it. Staff are supportive of this particular use on the subject property, given the nature and characteristics of the site. Based on the above, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is minor, is desirable for the appropriate use of the property, and maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. Engineering staff advise that a sanitary lateral and driveway culvert permit will require a permit, and consideration should be given to installing a separate lateral for each unit. PUC Distribution, being the electrical utility, advised that a semi-detached dwelling will require individual electrical services for each unit. PUC Commission the water utility, advised that a semi-detached dwelling will require individual water services for each unit. Sault Ste. Marie Region Conservation Authority advised that any development of the property will require a site plan review and may require a permit from the Sault Ste. Marie Conservation Authority. There is staff comments. There is a considerable neighborhood objections to the request. In their opinion, the proposal is not in character with the neighborhood development, that being one of single unit homes on large lots, and planning staff support the request. If I might add to the committee, when looking at your site plan, you will recall that the subject property recently received provisional consent to sever the property. That severed portion of property that had the provisional consent is what would contain this this development. The provisional consent is not finalized yet, and as such, your site plan shows the subject property because in its entirety, it is one subject property. Any approval by this committee, if there is approval to be made today, will apply to the proposed severed parcel. That's just to clarify that. I know that the committee, I've been asked, can the committee look at introducing uses? Generally, that's an application that would go to council. However, we as a committee cannot refuse any application that comes before us. I mean, I can't refuse to take the application. And planning staff felt there was an application that the committee could consider. So it is before you for consideration. And those are my comments, Madam Chair. Again, just to reiterate that the proposed development represented in this application would be on the proposed severed parcel. And those are my submissions.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Is there anyone who's speaking for this
Um,
application?
The agent for the application has been called out of town for work. Mr. Manarino's wife is in the gallery and probably is able to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay,
And again, it's Mrs. Manarino.
okay. Mrs. Manarino, do you have any additional comments you would like to give to the committee?
My only comments would be that absolutely we live in a beautiful neighborhood. Our property spans 3 houses across from us. And it is the last property that was like a double property. So, you know, my question would be to the other neighbors would be all of those properties were severed to accommodate their homes. When I look out, there were 3 homes in front of me. So I don't, you know, I guess we're not thinking that it's unreasonable compared to a duplex that would be facing 2 other homes that are existing across the street. As far as the size of our property, but that's the only comment that I would make.
Could I just put some clarification to that?
Sure.
Mrs. Manarino is correct in that her property is larger than I think any other property in that subdivision. It's twice the size of the other properties. Her property is 1.1 acres and the other properties are all half acre. They weren't created by severance though. And we want to clarify that. They were created as part of the subdivision approval process back in the 50s, similar to your property. So none of them were created by severance. And they are half acre lots. She does have the largest lot.
Okay. Perfect.
Question, I have a question.
Yeah, do we have any questions from the committee members?
So I'm trying to understand. So the severance is pending and it,
Yes,
but if that,
there's,
so if that fails, then this would be
well, the
negated.
severance has been approved. If they don't meet the conditions
Okay,
and the severance dies, then of course this would die with it. I don't anticipate that's
thank you.
happening. It's just the timing to
Okay.
meet all the conditions that are attached to the consent approval process. Doesn't
Thank you.
happen.
Got it.
Any other questions from committee members? Okay, on that, I'll close the discussion and look for a motion.
I'll put forward the motion for recommending this to occur based on the severance condition you noted. Michelle.
Couldn't be based on the severance. It's a minor variance.
Oh, the
so
minor variance, but it's subject to
it-
the approval of maybe I'm not understanding.
Well,
but
we
then-
could add that as a condition of the variance, but it isn't necessary.
Okay, if it's not
Um,
necessary,
But
then-
you need to describe how it meets the 4 tests.
how it meets the 4 tests. Okay, well, I'm not sure what the 4 tests are, but it
Okay.
meets the official plan.
Yeah.
Designation, the zoning bylaw.
Yeah.
There was also no negative notation from engineering, PUC, public utilities or conservation. I don't know what the 4th
Okay.
would be.
So, and because this is a first one of this kind for this committee, I'm explaining a few of the things to the members. You have comments from the neighbors and you need to speak specific to the neighbors' comments and how they impacted your decision.
Okay, the comments from the neighbors were all of the same opinion. So whether it's 1 or 5 of them, it's the same opinion. That same opinion based on the the current size of their lots and in consideration of what the what Ms. Manarino was trying to do, which conforms to the bylaws, or sorry, to the official plan and the conditions, to me
We're not
seems
looking at the south, we're looking at introducing 2 units
right
and the neighbors.
on a
are
double
speaking
wide lot.
on- Same size lot, eventually it'll be the same. Size. Neighbors are speaking to the number of units.
Okay. Okay, so then maybe I'll need to take this back then, because I'm not fully clear on it then.
Speak to the neighbors' comments on, their comment is going from single unit to having a double unit.
Yeah,
That's what the variance is about, introducing the use for a double unit
It falls-
double unit on
on one lot.
one lot.
It falls within, it would be, can I?
Yeah.
Can I say it would fall within the permitted uses for that lot? Is that-
But it doesn't. This application is seeking to permit that use.
Can I ask a question as well?
Sure.
Then?
You know what? I think the first thing we should do is maybe, if we don't get a seconder for your motion, the motion is done and we can reconsider another motion or ask questions. So,
Okay,
Madam Chair, if you could see if there's a seconder for that motion, and if there isn't, then it dies and we can keep moving.
Then we can, okay. So is there a second for that motion?
Yes, there is. I
Well, then-
support- Sorry,
Then his motion will have to be made how he speaks to the neighbor's comments in.
that's where I'm not clear either. I don't know how to proceed.
And
Right, that,
yeah, because only Frank can talk right now then
right.
for his, okay.
Okay.
And that's why I suggested that he asked to cancel that so that you could discuss how to move forward with your motion with the reasons that are going to be required. And that's why I suggested that if we don't get a seconder for the motion,
Okay. Correct.
okay, so then I'll cancel it so we
No,
can,
I can, and I withdraw my second.
okay.
so that motion is no longer on the floor and you can ask questions.
Okay.
So
So do we open up the discussion then?
do you want, Madam Chair, you can open the discussion. if you
Okay,
want.
I'd like to open the discussion. Sorry, I closed the motion before we discussed it fully, so.
So just to be clear for the committee, and again, it's a very unusual application, so, and a new committee. The application is to permit a use in a zone where it's not permitted. So you can't base your decision on, it's similar to uses that are, to a use that's already permitted. Because a permitted a single unit. The applicant is asking to permit the semi-detached use, which is found in other zones. So the neighbors are saying, the planning is saying they have no issue with that for those reasons, but the neighbors are saying it's not in character with the neighborhood. This is single unit homes.
Can I ask something on that then?
Yeah,
So with the new bylaw, we can permit a second, or you could have an apartment, say, in a garage,
yeah. Second
So,
accessory
a
use. yes.
second accessory. So because we're trying to look at the impact and trying to expand the area that we can build because of
Mhm,
the congestion in the city.
mhm.
So why couldn't a semi be addressing that issue?
Because a semi can be separated down the road. There could be an application to sever and separate that semi, which then changes your lot character.
Hmm.
However, the applicant also can apply the same design and meet the criteria you're asking about. You're absolutely right. We now have an obligation to allow a second accessory unit, provided it meets the zoning bylaw requirements for it, which is parking pretty much, and building code requirements. If that's what he wanted, he wouldn't be before the committee. He's before the committee because he would like to establish a semi-detached use on that proposed severed parcel. And that's why it's before the committee.
That request does not fall within current uses.
Permitted
for-
uses, that's
permitted
right.
uses.
So it's specifically to allow the use in the permitted uses.
So if the application came back to the committee asking to sever the lot further and then build a semi, like, I'm just trying to see what the process would be. Because if someone did want to separate the units, but they asked us to sever it into 3 parcels first,
They could do that.
they could do that,
Mhm.
but
The-
they
the
haven't. It's
application
just,
Would come to you to say, I would like to sever the lot into whatever, and these are the sizes of the proposed parcels. The
Yeah.
application could also come accompanied by a severance application, if that's his intent, to sever and convey each property.
but we don't know that.
In addition,
That's what I was thinking, but
though, that doesn't mean that you can't deal with this application. He would still, an applicant, if they were to sever this and make it smaller lots, he still has to come before this committee.
Put a
It's
semi,
not an automatic,
No.
because you have a semi, you have a severance.
You just-
Planners then and all staff would be looking at it then with new eyes to say, how does this meet those same criteria? Is that not correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct. It would be viewed as a new application.
Yes, we did one recently, I believe. The RM site, they were initially built as rentals. And then the applicant had wanted to sever it and sell. Is that similar?
But they were zoned for it.
Okay. All right.
This, we're permitting the semi-detached use, unit structure, or being asked to permit it. And, we're not being asked to sever it. We're just being asked to permit it in a list of uses where it's not permitted. The other option is to rezone
and usually rezoning goes through
council,
council. So why is, just a question is why
why
are
it came to the committee.
to the
Well,
committee?
he has the option. I mean,
Okay,
I can't refuse any application.
Okay.
I'm certain, or I feel confident that he, vetted with the various commenting officials prior to submitting the application, understanding that he has another option if it's not successful.
okay.
This
So
is-
just, sorry,
Sure.
I was gonna say, just in looking at the neighboring comments, they are similar. They're all, speaking to the character, size of the properties, those sorts of things. Based on scale, setback, positioning, it would all be relative to what currently exists on those neighboring properties. So from a scale, character, I guess just viewpoint, if they were jamming it on the same lot size as the neighboring properties, then it would be a 1-to-1, I would say, comparison. But because it's on a larger property, the setbacks would still be all in compliance with the bylaws, the character, sizing of the home, the height restrictions, whatever else. All of those items are not asking for a deviation on any of those base elements of I guess what needs to be, or what they want to develop. So I'm struggling with that being, an issue, because scale wise, based on the lot size of the property seems to be the issue. They seem to conform at the end of the day with the footprint of the structure based on the size of the lot. So that's how I'm looking at this, whether it's severed or not, I guess.
mhm, for sure.
again, we're not looking at severing it.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, I see
Mhm.
the point of not
So-
having to sever.
For sure.
Based on,
It's common, so to size of the lot that it is now, that the structure
Right.
would not be if I read you right, out of character for every other lot that's permitted a second accessory unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone as of right are permitted a second accessory unit, provided you meet certain parameters.
Yep.
And the planner has confirmed that. And I think that's where you're.
Can the applicant build a single structure on that potentially severed property?
When it came
Well,
to the committee for severance, that was the intent at the time.
build a single, right?
I can speak.
That would.
Yeah,
The idea was that with the housing market the way that it is struggling to find affordable housing. The idea being building two smaller homes that are more affordable for most people in our city versus some of these, larger homes that are a little out of reach in today's time. So that really is the idea, in that it's just meant to help create affordable homes in a beautiful neighborhood without really affecting, there's still property and land and trees and so that's the idea. Make the two smaller units that would be more affordable.
thank you.
For elderly, and they would be structured.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay. Do we have any more comments from committee members? I myself don't have any comments at this point. So with that, this time I will close the discussion and ask for a motion.
I'll put forward the motion,
Okay,
hopefully addressing the 4 points from the neighboring properties, in which case I'll just summarize it as the scale of the property in proportion to the lot size in context of the neighboring properties is not it's not disproportioned. And, assuming all current bylaws setbacks are applied to the development, I don't see it as an issue.
okay, thank you, Frank. And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, and second by Wayne. And then I'm just gonna say, was there any conditions on? No,
I think.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Surely, you want the condition that the provisional consent finalized.
Yes.
Okay. And okay. So can all in favor?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. And you don't have to stick around for the rest of them. Thanks so much.
Oh, we'll move to item 2 on the agenda. That would be application A623. Joshua and Stacy Cleve, and Joshua couldn't get away from work, so there's no representation, but there's no objections either. It's 768 Airport Road. It is located on the west side of Airport Road, south of the baseline intersection. It is designated rural area in the official plan and is zoned R1 estate residential. In accordance with section 45(1) or 2 of the Planning Act as applies, relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 by increasing the height of a detached garage, specifically sections 9.5.3.2. Maximum height for accessory buildings and structures is 6 meters. The applicant wishes to increase the maximum height for an 11 meter by 18 meter by 7.7 meter detached garage, complete with a 4.9 meter by 4.9 meter entrance. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city's website. As part of the application, and I had no feedback from anyone. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building, planning, engineering, legal, PUC, Sault Ste. Marie Conservation Authority, and Algoma Public Health had no objections. Fire Services and Bell did not respond. Planning staff had no objections given the size of the subject property being 2.67 hectares. The proposed setback from the neighboring property line to the north is 6 meters and the lack of any other structures nearby. PUC Distribution Inc., being the electrical utility end of things, had no concerns but wished to remind the applicant that building must be in accordance with the Ontario Building Code, specifically relating to clearances from power lines. Sault Ste. Marie Region Conservation Authority advised that the subject property is located in an area under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Authority with regard to Ontario Regulation 18606, development interference with wetlands and alterations to shoreline and watercourses. Any development on the subject property, severed or retained, will require a site plan review and may require a permit from the Conservation Authority. The current proposed development has been reviewed by Conservation Authority and will not require a permit as it is not within the regulated area. Algoma Public Health has no objections to the proposed increase of maximum height of a proposed garage. A performance level review application must be submitted to and approved by Algoma Public Health prior to the issuance of the structural building permit for the proposed construction. The garage location will need to be moved towards the road due to clearance distances from the septic system location. And the applicant has a copy of that comment. To date, no evidence has been presented to suggest that approval would cause any adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. And those are my submissions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Michelle. Since there's no one here to speak to the application, does the committee have any questions for Michelle? Okay, with that, I will close the discussion and ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the application for minor variance.
Okay, motion put forth by Wayne and seconded by,
I will
Frank?
second it. Yeah.
and all in favor?
Easy one.
Thank you.
The next matter on your agenda was deferred. We'll go to item number 4, tab 4 on your agenda. And again, there's no representation on the application. However, there's also no objections. Application A823, an application from Angel Anna Tracroche is the owner of 7 Berkshire Place. It is located on the southwesterly side of Berkshire Place, approximately 85 meters north of the Third Line East intersection. It is designated rural area in the official plan and is zoned R1 estate residential and is subject to site plan control. In accordance with section 45(1) or 2 of the Planning Act, relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by reducing the north interior side yard to facilitate the construction of a 4.87 meter by 7.3 meter front addition to the existing 9.7 meter by 7.3 meter detached garage, specifically sections 9.5.3.1 and 9.5.2, which requires a minimum interior side yard of 3.5 meters. The applicant seeks to reduce the north interior side yard to 1.2 meters for the proposed front addition to be in line with the existing structure. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to the neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city's website. As part of the review, this proposal was circulated to internal departments and external agencies for their review. Planning, engineering, legal, PUC, Sault Ste. Marie Region Conservation Authority, and Algoma Public Health had no objections or concerns. Building and fire services staff did not respond. The Conservation Authority advised that the subject property is located in an area under their jurisdiction. Any development on the subject property will require a site plan review and may require a permit from Conservation Authority. To date, no evidence has been presented to suggest that approval would cause any adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood, and there's no one in the gallery to give any additional evidence. So those are my submissions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And since there's no one in the gallery, do we have any questions from the committee members? With no questions, I'll close the discussion and ask for a motion.
I'll put the motion forward based on the comments, recommendations noted.
Okay, motion put forth from Frank,
I will second the motion.
and second from Wayne, and all in favor? Great, motion carried.
We've dealt with item 5, Madam Chair. Those are the items on our agenda. Seeing no further items. I'll just make note that our next meeting is May 17th. And we can
Okay.
close the meeting.
Meeting adjourned.
And you can discontinue the live stream.
That was interesting.